mentioned Chicago among the cities with the most murders in the country last year, and President Trump is calling that city a disaster. He says the deployment of National Guard officers would bring back some law and order to that city, while the governor there, J.B. Pritzker, calls the move a power grab.
I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it.
If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety.
And senior national correspondent Mike Tobin joins us live in Chicago with more on this. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill. And the president and the Illinois governor are now locked in this very public political spat over public safety, yet they're not talking to each other, and the whole thing has taken on a very personal, petty angle.
You really want to be asked to go. You know, I hate to barge in on a city and then be treated horribly by corrupt politicians and bad politicians like a guy like Pritzker. He ought to spend more time in the gym, actually. This guy is a disaster.
It takes one to know one on the weight question. And the president, of course, himself is not in good shape. So he ought to respond to that from me.
Now, Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson wants to argue that violent crime is down in Chicago, and he's right. Murders, shootings, and vehicle theft all down around 30%, but down from a dramatic high. The homicide rate in Chicago is triple the rate in Los Angeles, quadruple New York. Crystal Johnson understands the impact of that violence. Her son, Taekwon Carson, was gunned down just shy of his 21st birthday.
I don't wish this pain on no one because you lose someone, but losing a child, it's like someone snatched something out the inside of you. They took it away. They took something that you hold so dear to you, and like it's a hole. It will always be this hole, this void in my heart.
Now, you heard the president call Chicago a killing field. He also called Baltimore a deathbed, and he talks about deploying manpower to San Francisco and New York. Bill?
All right, Mike Tobin live in Chicago for us today. Mike, thank you.
Let's bring in Guy Benson. He's host of the Guy Benson Show and a Fox News contributor, and that was an extremely moving interview. And I want to play a little bit more from Mayor Johnson because he's obviously the mayor of Chicago. We heard from the governor of Illinois. What does the mayor have to say?
First of all, a military occupation of the city of Chicago would not only be illegal, but unconstitutional and costly. The city of Chicago is not requesting that federal troops come and occupy our city. And since I've been in office, there's been a precipitous decline in violent crime in every single category. Just this year alone.
Is he whistling past the graveyard?
I think we've seen that from Chicago and Illinois leaders for a very long time, Dana. I lived in Chicago for years. Yeah. I love the town in a lot of ways.
Me too.
But there has been a serious crime crisis really as long as I can remember. And yes, violent crime has come down a bit, but it's still extremely elevated. I also know for a fact there are quite a few crimes that residents simply don't report anymore to the police because they feel like it's pointless. That's true in a lot of these cities. Mayor Johnson, I will point out, has an approval rating in like the single digits percentage-wise, so he's been a catastrophe for that city. I think there is a separate prudential question about whether or not it is wise to send in the National Guard, what the powers of the presidency entail. He has got wide power in D.C. It's a little different in other cities. I understand some of the pushback from Illinois and Chicago leaders on that, but they would have more credibility, I think, if they had taken this problem much more seriously for a much longer period of time. It seems like they're suddenly all up in arms, not over all the death and all the crime and all the chaos in that city, but because a president that they oppose might want to do something about it, which is a bad look for them.
And Guy, it was another deadly weekend in the city of Chicago. If we can pull up this chart here, it really kind of paints a picture for our viewers. We're talking 6 people dead, 27 injured just over this weekend alone. And what you're looking at here is every yellow dot you see is a shooting that happened in Chicago. Every red dot you see is a deadly shooting. And one of the people who were killed this weekend includes a 5-year-old child. So again, we see this, especially in summer in Chicago. But Guy, you know, J.B. Pritzker posted that video of him walking along the lakefront in Chicago yesterday saying, oh, everything's fine out here. It's 6 in the morning. There's people jogging. This paints a very, very much different story.
That's right. And Dana, when we were looking at that graphic of all the shootings, your jaw drops.
I couldn't believe. I mean, it is shocking.
And yet it is typical.
Yeah.
Right? That is what we see all the time in Chicago on weekends, especially as Bill pointed out in the summer. It's basically routine, and it's just so insulting, I think, to our intelligence. If you want to make a case about authority and delegation of powers or whatever, you can make that case. The case should not be, actually, we're fine. Here's a cute little video along the lakefront in a quiet, safe area at sunrise.
With his detail.
Right, of course, with his security. And then it's like, oh, well, let's just ignore every single one of those yellow dots, every single one of those red dots. They're not being murdered in front of the governor on the lakefront at dawn, but they're being murdered in that city. It reminds me, actually, remember a few years ago in Seattle with the Chaz autonomous zone?
Chaz.
And you had some people filming in a park halfway across the city saying, oh, Seattle's fine, what are you talking about? If you ignore the places that are a disaster, then you can paint a clearly misleading picture, which is what Governor Pritzker was doing there.
So broader picture, and just a little bit north of there, there was a big meeting at the DNC in Minneapolis, and you had the leader of the DNC, Ken Martin, start off this way.
Lindy Samek Nindigenous Amek Dodam, Saginaw Chippewa Dojaba, Anishinaabe Kwe and Dow. Good morning, DNC members, friends, and relatives. Let's talk about the land for a second. The DNC acknowledges and honors the Dakota Oyate, the Dakota people, who are the original stewards of the lands and waters of Minneapolis. In many ways, we still live in a system built to suppress Indigenous peoples' cultural and spiritual history.
I remember being on the 5 yesterday and Harold Ford's jaw-dropping, talk about jaw-dropping moment thing. Wait, they did what to start the meeting? And that was it.
Well, I mean, that's also not atypical of the Democrats, right? It's this ritualistic weirdness, and it's performative, and they've done it for years. And you can have outside groups putting together a list of words you shouldn't say because you sound too strange to average people. When you have your party meeting and you open it with a land acknowledgement talking about how you're all on stolen land or whatever, that is so far removed from the everyday concerns of average Americans. It makes you look wildly out of touch yet again.
And then they had another speaker saying, hey, don't pay attention to migrant crime or carjacking.
Yeah,
Platform
she said nobody really worries about that anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you've lived in Chicago for a long time and you live in D.C. now, or the area, and so you know both of these stories very well.
100%. And then quickly in D.C., I moved there 15 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. When they're trying to claim, and there's this scandal about how they've changed manipulated the stats and crime in that city, when they're trying to claim that they're at a 30-year low in crime in D.C., it's just so insultingly untrue. When I moved there 15 years ago, things were much better.
Wow.
And you can make good arguments against policies or in favor of them. You cannot look us with a straight face, look us in the eye and say, oh, everything's fine.
I agree. Guy Benson, we'll see you on the radio.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.